since Halloween is coming up, I'll talk about sort of, I'll give a really good story of a creepy story. So my family are very, very Southern. And, well, no, they're not Southern, because Southern implies, like, you know, Arkansas, Alabama. They're not those people. That's a different, that's really true Southern. Texans and Louisianans have different words to describe, you know, various scary things and cryptids. For example, my pop, he used to call, and that by pop I mean my granddad, he used to tell me that in the room where the water heater was, that a woolly booger lived in there. And for those of you who don't know, that would be a Bigfoot. Okay? So I grew up hearing these hilarious terms my entire life. Cattywampus, you know, or wampus cat, whichever one. Woolly boogers, hammerlammers, you name it. You know, rougarou, all that. Yep, that's what I heard. But I thought maybe I would tell a cool story of the haunted farmhouse that I was forced to sleep in as a child, along with my brother and my sister, who is the youngest of all of us. She is much more brave and less fazed by anything. So it's pretty hilarious, actually, because she's several, you know, over a decade younger than us, but she is fearless when it comes to being alone in a creepy place. Like, my brother and I are like, nope, you know, we're got covers over our head, you know, busting out the sage. But my sister, she's different. She's a different breed. So this farmhouse is over 100 years old, well over 100 years old. It's made of limestone. For those of you out there that are nerds, you know that limestone is an incredible conductor of energy, like electricity and everything else. So it really holds on to you know, if it's cold outside, it holds on to the heat, and if it's hot outside, it holds on to the cool. It's all this. So it's a great building material. I'm not going to take anything away from limestone. However, when you have a house made out of it that's on Indian burial grounds, you know, it is ripe for freaky stuff happening. So my brother and I, we regularly had freaky stuff happening. When we would have to go down to the farmhouse, there was this room that was upstairs that was like, you know, there was like a lot of rooms, and one of the, like, several of the rooms had big locks on them, and you were never allowed to, like, know what was in there, and that was just like a freak show in and of itself. But the people, this is my dad's folks, are German, and as a kid, I couldn't understand them. I did not understand them at all. You know, very thick German accents, and mixed with like that South Texas accent. It's a weird accent. And for those of you that go down and do the Tubanet the Guadalupe thing, the locals there, just go into like a really local place and you'll hear what I'm talking about. And good luck understanding it. So anyway, so, you know, back in the day, Spanish influenza, tuberculosis, whatever, it wiped a lot of people out. You know, people would have like 10 kids, and pretty much because they knew 7 of them were going to die, that kind of thing. So, you know, this house has seen its fair share of death. And my brother and I would be forced to stay in this room upstairs, and it was quite possibly the freakiest room I've ever been in my life. There was like, you know, this very tiny window that, and like this window, there's no way to like look in from the outside in this window because it was up really high. There was no like ladder or anything out there, and but the way that the ceiling was built, it was it followed the natural line of the house, so it's like the back part of the room got smaller, so you were at like that bizarre angle of like the 45-degree angle. Somebody straight up just went in front of the car on a bicycle. Are you kidding me? Okay. Anyway, yeah, smart person that was, in the rain, wearing black, on a bicycle. Nice. So anyway, this room was a total freak show, and we would go to sleep in there, or we would try, and we would see, there was also a window that looked out into this hallway, okay, and sure, it's just a hallway, but stone floors, stone everything, stone walls, and we would see a group of people dressed in period clothing of like the 1800s, and like the high collared dresses with the poofy sleeves, the whole deal. We would see these people, they would stare at us through that window. No lie, it happened every time, and they would just stare at us, and I was like, and it got to the point when we were kids that we were just like, hello, this was like an accepted thing, okay? But you couldn't talk to my dad about it or anybody because they knew, but they didn't want to like talk about it, And there would be freaky stuff that had absolutely no explanation at all, and it would be like, a cat did that. It's like, okay, what, like how? I'll give you an example. There was a huge vase that was, when I mean huge, like you could sit like a palm tree down in it. It was big, big, like ornamental looking, antique vase. And it was filled with buttons and marbles and coins and various things. This vase probably weighed, I'm going to go ahead and give like a conservative estimate, 500 pounds. Okay? 500 pounds, at least. So there was one day when my brother, myself, my sister, we're all downstairs, and we hear like the loudest noise that you've ever heard in your life. And it was that vase falling off of a huge oak table that it had been sitting on for 100 years probably. And we're like, jumped out of our skin. What the heck was that? Of course we have to go and investigate, and we see that this vase has fallen off, and we're like, that's not possible. And at this point we were already grown, okay? So of course we tell my dad the vase fell. He's like, a cat did it. Okay, what kind of cat? Like a liger? Is there a liger in the house? Because that's the only explanation, is an actual liger did that. Like a hybrid of lion tiger, for those of you who don't know. And yes, that's a real thing. And they're huge. So that's the kind of stuff that would happen regularly. Not the vase part, but like just stuff falling that you're like, that has no explanation at all. So one of the freakiest stories that I have is I decided one time to bring my best friend from childhood with me down there. So I was driving, I was probably like 16, 17, and I was like, yeah, let's go. It was over the summer, we were about to have to go back to school, and so we're in my truck, and we went down there, and it was going to be, oh, this will be fun, be out in the country, like, it'll be cool. And I thought maybe it'll be a lot cooler because my friend is with me and it's not just my family, right? So one of my aunts had another house that was kind of adjacent to the old farmhouse, and it was like a double wide, really nice though. But she was an elderly woman, and she lived there basically everybody would go and stop in and check on her, make sure she was okay, and, you know, and that sort of stuff. But she was gone with somebody. I think she may have been up in Dallas visiting her grandchildren, something like that. And so my dad was like, well, y'all just stay in Louise's trailer. And I'm like, you don't have to tell me twice, you know. And by the way, I'm on a farm road right now, and like nobody's on the road, okay? Nobody. But there's now an ambulance / fire truck that is hauling ass towards us. Okay. That's not bright at all. Okay. Yep, it's one of those days. I can feel it. Tawakoni is popping off. Okay. So, anyway, so we decide, yeah, okay, we're going to sleep in the trailer. Now, some of you listening to this know my dad and knows that he finds nothing more entertaining than practical jokes. But if the practical joke was played on him, it would be a totally different thing, okay? But he really likes practical jokes. So my friends growing up, we all knew, you know, to like watch out for Fred Lentz, because he's good at it. He's real good, and his favorite thing is to scare you. So, you know, I knew to expect that, you know, when we were down there out in the country, because my dad always played off my fears, you know, legitimate fears I had. So, you know, I mean, he's not above getting in a ski mask and looking in through your bedroom window until you notice him and absolutely pee your pants. Like, that's how he rolls. And then it's just hilarious, and it's not. So, yeah, it's a whole thing. What do they call that? The German Schadenfreude? What is it? It's like laughter through pain. I don't know. It means something like that. But anyway, he's into that. So, I'm going to get to the point. So we decided, you know, it's nightfall. We're like, okay, let's go to Louise's trailer. Sure, let's do that. And we do. And so we're in this back bedroom. And again, this is a brand new trailer. It's really nice, you know, but you're in the middle of nowhere, okay? So there's no ambient light outside. There's nothing. Nothing at all. So my dad says he's going to sleep over there too. And I'm like, I know why, because you're going to try to freak us out. Like, I already knew. But I'm like, all right, I'll go along with this because we'll retaliate against him. So we had a big plan. We're like, the minute he tries to scare us, we're going to scare him. So we got like a baseball bat and, you know, stuff. And so we're like, we're not even going to sleep. We're going to pretend to be asleep. And then when he comes to try to scare us, it's going to be on. Okay? So it's about 2 a.m, and I'm actually really sleepy at this point, and so is my friend. And so there's like we're in this back room, and it's a twin bed, and there's a window in the middle separating the twin beds, so you can see, you know, like, and the window goes outside, which is, like I said, there's nothing out there. I mean, it's just absolute. There's a cemetery, by the way. Yeah, that's not freaky at all. But yeah, so we had the window kind of cracked, like maybe like an inch or two, because we thought if he does pull some stuff, like, we'll hear him walking on the grass and we'll be ready. Okay. So around 2-3 in the morning, I'm like, dude, I'm so freaking tired. And she's like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, oh man, but we can't, because now this is the witching hour. This is totally when he's gonna pull this stunt. And she's like, I know. So we wait there for maybe another 30 minutes. By this point, it's like 3:30 in the morning. And then we hear crunch, crunch, crunch on the grass, okay? And we're like, oh, it's on. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Like, and we're kind of like giggling or whatever. But then there was this overarching feeling of like the hair standing up on the back of my neck kind of thing. Like, primal fear had kicked in, and I thought, why am I so, I know it's my dad, like, it's gotta be my dad, so I don't know what this feeling is about. She's like, oh my god, dude, I have it too, but I know it's your dad. I'm like, yeah, it's totally him. I'm like, just stay, like, pretend to be asleep. So we have have our eyes closed, but we're just like waiting. We're just waiting. And under the covers, we've got a thing. She's got like a thing of hairspray. Okay, I don't know what we thought we were gonna do. Spray him in the face. Like, that's actually pretty terrible if you think about it. And then I've got like a baseball bat. And what I was gonna do with the baseball bat was just hit it up against the wall, like a little bit, like to just freak him out, you know, because he wouldn't be expecting us to just jump up and be like, bam, you know. So we feel the presence at the window, and it's like Darth Vader level breathing, okay? Like hard breathing. Like, you can feel the heat coming off of the breathing. Like, it's like, okay, man, he's really selling it, you know, like, this is some, you know. And then a grunting kind of sound, like that, kind of like real deep subphonic bassy grunt of a sound. Now, my dad's a big guy, so it's not out of the question that he could make a sound that was that resonant, but at that point I was like, that's a pretty impressive ass, pardon my French, sound, you know. I didn't know he had that in him, okay? And I mean, it's like the kind of bassy grunt sound that like vibrates the windows, you know. And I'm like, yo, dude, like, I'm whispering to her, like, he's really like committing, like, maybe we shouldn't mess with him, maybe we should just act scared and like get it over with, or whatever. So the room's dark, you can't see anything outside, it's pitch black, and we think that it's gone. And then all of a sudden you hear like some branches breaking, and then you can feel like the house shaking and somebody running towards a window, and then smack on the window, and then like a big grunt, and we were like legitimately like freaked out. And I'm like, okay, now it comes, the ski mask will probably come off, and ha ha ha, and repeat ourselves, and there you go, okay? So we got so freaked out by that we ran into the living room. And in the living room is my dad, passed out, snoring in an armchair, like a lazy boy. And I'm like, Dad, that's not even, and then but the back of my head's like, there's no way, dude, that he hauled it that fast back in here. Like, we would have still seen the chair rocking, you know, if he had just plopped down in it that hard, because again, he's a big guy. So I'm like, there's no way. And he was legitimately asleep. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, no way, dude, no, that had to have been him. And so we wake him up, and I go, Dad, like, come on, why'd you do that? And he's like, he for real did not know what we were talking about. It was like, I don't know what you're saying. I'm like, I didn't do anything, you know, y'all need to go back to bed, like, quit messing around, you know. It's like, no, for real, you were just outside the window, right? And he's like, no. And so anyway, we get him out of bed, and he's like, oh, fine. And he gets back, well, I mean, he had like a kerosene lantern thing, and I don't know why he likes to use those. It's like, that's so freaking dangerous. But I guess in a bad situation, you can smash that over somebody's face and light them on fire. So maybe that's why. But anyway, he goes out there, and we're like following behind him, doing that thing where like you're grabbing like somebody's shirt from the back, like, you know. And we're looking around. There's nothing, okay, except these footprints right outside of the window. And not just any footprints, okay? The footprints outside of the window were not human footprints at all, unless that human happened to be barefoot and so completely obese that they sunk down in the ground, okay? And also so big that they would wear like the biggest shoe you've ever seen in your life. So my dad's like, oh okay, nice try. So he thinks we're punking him out. And I'm like, no, we're not. Like, this is for real. And then he's looking at us like, yeah, whatever. So, anyway, he doesn't believe us. But after this whole thing, we like, for sure, like, my friend was like, I want to get the hell out of here. I want to go back home. I don't care. I know it's like 3 in the morning. I'm like, no, we have to wait until in the morning to leave. I'm not driving on these country roads in the middle of the night, especially if something like that, I don't even know what it was out there. Okay. So we ended up telling my mom about this. Now my mom has got that Louisiana thing where it's just like nothing phases her. You know, she's like, that's a werewolf. You know, like that's what she's just like that. So we tell her, and she's like, yeah, that sounds like a woolly booger. And we're like, a woolly booger? And I was like, oh man, Poppy's talking about that. Okay. And I'm like, woolly booger, that's like Bigfoot. Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. That's my mom. She talks just like that. That's what it does. No, man, that's what it was. You got an old woolly booger outside your window. Well, that's not normal, okay? Why is there got to be a woolly booger? Why? Anyway, so we, the next day, drive back to Dallas, and we're like, dude, screw that place. My friend, by the way, was like, I hate you for bringing me there. I can't believe you grew up in this place. Like, no wonder, you know, this whole deal. She's like, this was the worst experience of my life. All this, like, totally feeling like I'm going to lose my friend over this. And she was legitimately like, I don't even know what just happened to us. Like, that was just not, whatever that was like, that was not normal. That was not from the light. Like, that was so bad. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. She's like, I thought you said there were ghosts out there. She's like, that wasn't a freaking ghost. And I was like, no, there are ghosts. That's in the farmhouse down the way. Like, you know, I don't have any radar on this new trailer we're at. She's like, yeah, well, that was not a ghost. That was like living, breathing something. It wasn't a ghost. So, those of you who know about farms, you know that there are like the farm dogs, right? The herding dogs that are not spooked by anything. Okay? So, it was maybe a week later, and my dad mentions this, but in his way of like not giving you any details. So I had to go fishing for details from my mom and everybody else. So there was one night, about a week after that experience happened, when quite literally the farm dogs, and there was a lot of them, were clamoring, okay, to get inside of the house. First of all, they don't ever come inside the house. They don't want to go inside the house. That's not their job. They like their job, which is to like guard the house and herd animals and herd cattle and stuff. So they're not interested ever in going inside the house. Not once. You could leave the door open, they're not coming in. So they were clamoring to get inside the house, to the point where they actually like dug like claw marks into the door trying to get inside the house. They were that scared of something. So, I mean, like all of them. So my mom goes downstairs and she's like, what in the hell? And so she opens the door and they're just like, you know, like inside the house, like, don't make us stand out there. We're not going back out there. We don't even care. And so something spooked them real hard. Real hard. And there's an old, like 100-year-old shed that's beside the farmhouse. And there's, you know, old pickaxes and stuff like that that's hung up like real high in that shed. Lots of old furniture, and that's real heavy, that oak furniture, you know, just real heavy cabinetry in there, stuff like that. So the next day, my dad gets a little brave and he decides, well, okay, I'm going to go look in that shed, you know, and just, you know, because the door, oh, I've left that out. The door was open, which is weird because it's like a padlock. Well, the padlock had been completely broken. He goes in the shed and everything has been ripped off the walls. There's like giant oak furniture that there's no way one person could move. No way. No. Okay? Like moved to the other side of the shed. It's toppled over. It looks like somebody just picked it up and chucked it. And I mean, it is a freak show in there. And my dad's like, okay, so this is how much my dad's in denial. My mom is like the skinniest person in the world. She's like 5'10", 5'11". So tall, willowy is like the best way to describe her. No upper body strength at all. None. Okay? My sister, same deal. Okay? She's a little thicker. Looks like she might be able to lift something. But still not a power lifter by any stretch. Okay? So, 2 ladies, all right? Both of whom are not into manual labor or weightlifting or really anything like that, okay? At all. So both of them and nobody else, okay? Unless you count like my 95-year-old, like, you know, hunched over uncle who lives like in the woods, okay? There's him. But he's not going nowhere, right? So my dad, in his denial, says, y'all need to stop messing around in the shed and like throwing stuff around. And they're like, what are you talking about? They go in, they're like, there's no way we could lift any of this. Well, yeah, you could. And it's like, okay, then you lift it. Of course, he can't even move it on his own. I mean, it would take like 4 people to even like budge some of this stuff in there. So he's like, well, y'all got all that stuff off the ceiling, threw it down on the ground. And they're like, no. Well, who broke this lock? Well, we don't know, you know? So anyway, so the story goes is that there was a woolly booger that was on the property that year and spooked everything and just completely ruined, like, you know, my dad, I think, was more mad that at no point could he scare any of us in the way that something legitimately did. And that's one of about 1,000 stories that I have of that piece of property. And no one lives down there now. And, you know, we always said the ghosts were going to take it back, but apparently they did, because when the property was sold, one of the property owners said, you know, oh, that's, yeah, real nice of you guys to move all of the furniture in the house into the, like, middle of the room. It's like, we didn't do that. And B, there's no way to move that furniture. It's basically made of, like, iron and oak. So, yeah, so we didn't do that. So the new property owner decides, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to, you know, get some guys out here and move this stuff. Well, anyway, his entire crew basically quit. And then he ended up never living in that house and building a house, like, on the land, but elsewhere. So he decided, you know what, I'm just not going to live there anymore. That house isn't for me. And my dad to this day is like, I wonder why he just won't live in that house. It's like, okay, you know what, dude? Like, we can't all be insane. I mean, not all of us. This is like somebody that, you know, it's like, I know, like, you don't believe that anyone in your family has seen stuff, but we have. You have too. Come on, keep it real. And, like, this is a perfectly, like, reasonable man that, you know, bought this, and if he's not going to live in it, okay? This guy's got shotguns, all kinds of stuff. He's not living in it. He's not going to live in that house. Nobody's going to ever live in that house, okay? It's occupied, but it's not occupied by anyone who is currently alive. So that's my story for this Halloween. I hope you enjoyed it.